This is the Decoding Obesity podcast, where we simplify, demystify, and decode obesity, helping you lose weight and feel great. So gear up for a fascinating journey through this ever-evolving field, and let's see what we find. And please remember that the thoughts and opinions on this podcast do not constitute medical advice. Don't forget to visit our website, www.decodingobesity.com, for show notes and more info. And now, here's your host of the Decoding Obesity podcast, Dr. Avishkar Sabharwal.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Decoding Obesity podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, I encourage you to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening, so that you can get notified as soon as the new episodes are released. Marc Summa is joining me from Florida to share his story with all of us. Marc has been an educator and a school administrator in Hillsborough County Public Schools since 1998 and is currently a math coach at Mango Elementary School in Seffner, Florida. He is also a founding member of UNICO of Greater Tampa Bay, an Italian-American organization with a focus on service above self. UNICO fundraises throughout the year to provide scholarship opportunities for graduating high school seniors of Italian-American heritage. Hi, Marc.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good. So, Marc, I know we had discussed about your weight loss journey, and it's a fascinating journey that you've had. You know, it's great that you're here to share it with all of us. So when did your weight really become an issue for you?
Well, first, let me thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. When I think about my time with really weight loss, it really wasn't something prevalent to me in the beginning, started a part of my life. You know, throughout my childhood, I was fairly thin. I played 3 sports and I was an athlete all through high school. And I never really thought about my weight. But again, growing up as an Italian American, a lot of our events were centered around food. And it was just a part of our celebration. And I had a grandmother who definitely made sure that I was well fed. And I also had a mom who made sure I was well fed. And even in high school, I had a girlfriend who, after I eat dinner at home, I would go and eat at her house. But I played sports, so it didn't really matter. Right. I didn't really think about the weight, and I didn't really think about how much I was eating. A quick story I can even share is when I was 12 years old, we went to a ice cream place that had a giant five scoop sundae, and I would order that, and people would look at me like, "There's no way you're going to eat that." My father would look at them and say, "Not only is he going to eat that, he's going to eat the rest of his mom's."
Oh my God!
You know,
wow.
But I never thought of it, and it was just something. But I was always able to maintain a good physique, and wasn't overweight at any point until towards the end of my senior year in high school, where I was not playing basketball at the time, and I decided that I was just going to take a break from sports, and ended up eating those 2 meals a night with my girlfriend in high school. And it got to a point where I was probably put on 20 pounds, but I didn't even think of it until we took our team picture. Right. And I was like, wow, I bulked up for baseball, and I usually get thin for football. So it was kind of weird. Just that type of thing, it stood out from looking at that picture. And then once college came, you really didn't think about it. There was obviously taking part in college traditions. You don't think about those things. And all of a sudden, weight starts to gain. You put on the freshman 15 or 20 or whatever you want to call it. And then, but you don't think of it because you're in college and you're still trying to find yourself and learn about yourself.
Right.
And
it creeps up fairly slowly on you. It's not like one day you're a certain weight and the next day you're just a whole different weight. It's very slowly over years, and you barely notice it. You can only notice it when you look at your pictures from before and you realize, wow, this is very different.
Yes, there were plenty of times when, I look at pictures of me progressively throughout, and I'm like, oh, it wasn't heavy, but if you look at my height compared to my weight, you would consider that obese, but it wasn't something that was even discussed or anything like that. Right. It was just, I have wide shoulders and, I have an athletic build. So those types of things really didn't equate to me being heavy. So when I think you can say that like I hit it very well, like some people are able to do, but then I just never really thought of it because no one really talked to me about it or questioned me about it. And I really didn't have anybody who made me feel bad about myself. So, like you
Right.
said, it progressively just gets more and more and you don't recognize it.
Yeah. What do you think caused your weight to really spiral out of control? I know you talked about the freshman 15 or 20. What changed?
Well, honestly, when going through being a three-sport athlete in high school and not participating in athletics in college, with the exception of like intramurals with my fraternity, working out wasn't something very important to me at that point because I was really focusing on my education, plus also, the social aspect of being in college. Going to the gym wasn't something that, as now it is, as important to students, and it wasn't something that was really ingrained in me at that point because it was, well, I'm not training for anything, I'm not trying to work out for a sport. So that one aspect, the exercise, kind of went away. And then
Right.
you want to indulge, you want to enjoy, after going out, on a Saturday night till 3 in the morning and go to McDonald's or a fast food restaurant, or and not think about eating at 4:30 in the morning and then sleeping till noon or 1. And it just was a
Right. Yeah.
continuous cycle, and eventually it just kind of spirals out of your control because but you don't notice it, you don't think about it, it just happens.
Right. And when did you really recognize it? And what was sort of your light bulb moment, as I say, that made you kind of think of it as, wow, I've really gained this weight and I need to do something about it?
I had gotten engaged to my college girlfriend, who's now my wife, obviously, and we were getting ready to take our engagement photos. So we were taking our photos, and we got our prints back when they gave you prints after you took your photos. And I noticed that my side of my face just connected all the way to my neck. Like I didn't even have a chin. It was just like
Oh,
the whole side of
wow.
my face was there. And I was like, I said to her, I said, do I really look like that? And she said, yeah, that's you. I said, oh, no. We're getting married in 6 months. I can't even fathom looking like that in front of my family and my friends, and looking at photos back 20, 30, 40 years from now, knowing that that's what I looked like. And I said, I have to do something about it. And that was the point. That was the breaking point.
So do you think you lost weight primarily for your wedding, or do you think it was you just wanted to lose it because you didn't want to be at that weight anymore?
I think it was one. I definitely did not want to be that weight because I just couldn't even imagine the fact that I was up to around 250, 255 pounds. That is not even close to somebody who's 5'11" should be. So just knowing that alone, health wise, but then also when I was thinking about it as far as the wedding goes, I want to make sure that I was in the best possible shape, putting on a tuxedo, marrying this beautiful woman, and everybody's saying, "How did you land her?" Because you should do it. So, and I know that weight and looks shouldn't matter, but one of those things, it's just I felt like I wasn't going to be able to be around long enough to maybe see my children get married. So why would I put myself in that health risk? So, of course, when I went on to my crash diet, if you want to call it that, for the 6 months, I did it the wrong way. I did it a horrible way. I
Yeah,
was
I was going to
taking
ask you, like, what all did you try before you actually found success?
So I used diet fuel that is over the counter diet fuel, but it had ephedrine. This was back before ephedrine was illegal, and I would take 2 pills in the morning, 2 pills for lunch with a little bit of lemonade. Sitting in the teacher's cafeteria, just that's what I'm having for lunch. And people, my buddy was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "This is my life now." So I had 2 pills in the morning,
Wow.
2 pills in the afternoon, and like a small dinner, no fast food, no dessert, and then worked out 6 days a week. And it was not like just, oh, I'm going to do 20 minutes on the treadmill. I was full on hour on the elliptical. And I just had that determination of, I'm going to get rid of this. And ultimately I went from 250, 255 down to 185. It was a lot of weight, but I didn't do it the right way. I just did it with pills that weren't right for my body. They were just jacking me up and getting me excited. Right, over the counter stuff, not very healthy for me. So when I lost all the weight, now granted, I finally had abs for the first time since I was in high school, when I got married, but then I stopped. because I didn't have more of a reason to keep losing weight.
And it's not sustainable, that level of exercise and that type of a diet is not sustainable. That's why it's a diet, it's not a lifestyle. I like to put it like that. At least you have to think about it more in terms of a lifestyle change rather than a diet which is a short fix, especially in terms of the mindset that you have when you think about a diet. So you said you went down to 185, and then what happened?
So then right after we got married, it was, all right, well, I'm married. We continued because we didn't have children for another 4 years until, so
Sure.
we still maintained our having fun and still being fairly young and being able to travel and do things. And so I didn't really exercise as much, maybe a couple of days a week, but I wasn't on that regimen. I wasn't eating small meals. We were kind of getting back to eating normal or more than normal portions. I just started to kind of get back to the way that I was used to eating, and maybe a little bit more indulging than I had done before. And slowly but surely my wife and I got into a routine of eating a little bit more, but she was able to stay fairly in shape, and I was kind of just kept going in the wrong direction. So each passing year, I was gaining 5-6 pounds, and then, my wife got pregnant, and then in 2003. So by 2004, when she was getting ready to have her baby, I was gaining more weight because she couldn't fit any more in her stomach. So, I'm not going to waste this food. I'm going to eat her food too on top of my meal. And then I just started to get bigger and bigger. But again, I was married. I had a baby on the way. I was working, and no one had said, "Wow, you're getting heavier. You're getting bigger." So that was not something that happened.
Even when you are gaining that weight, you had mentioned it was just like 5 or 6 pounds a year. And if it's just 5 or 6 pounds a year, if you're constantly around people, they may not even notice that you're gaining that weight. It's only when you look back retrospectively, you realize that you've gained so much weight after a few years have passed by.
Right.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, if you have certain stressors in life or certain big shifts in life, that's when you usually see the weight pile on.
I agree.
Because
I
everything
agree.
is changing.
And right around that same time, I had finished getting my master's degree, and I was starting my doctoral degree right around 2006, 2006. So I was constantly in class. I was eating whatever I could because I was trying to get all of my work done. So working on my dissertation, a lot of the things that I spend a lot of time on, it kind of takes you away from a routine of eating healthy meals and exercising regularly and doing the things I need to, on top of working a full-time job. And now I have a child, and then we had another child on the way. All of a sudden, like, those things start to take precedent over your health.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I just didn't. It was something that I lost control of.
Yeah. And how did you finally achieve success then? What changed? And after all of this was done, what did you do to kind of achieve your success, which you've been able to maintain for this long?
So fast forward from 2006 all the way to 2015. So 9 years later, I got to a point where I was back up to around 250.
Oh, wow.
And yes. So I went to my doctor, and he said, well, you need to diet and exercise, but I'm going to let you know that based on your labs, you are pre-diabetic. You have high triglycerides, high cholesterol, you have a fatty liver. And he and I have some really personal conversation, and I explained to him how I have a great fear of death. And he's like, for somebody who has a great fear of death, you are certainly not putting your best foot forward in fighting that battle. So I had to do something. So he suggested it initially, just let's try some diet and exercise. And we tried some diet and exercise, come back and let's see. And it just, I lost a little bit, but not nearly what I needed to do. And he was just like, we got to find something else. So he said, there's a new prescription that I'd like for you to try. It's called Saxenda. It is for weight loss, but it is you have to have a BMI over 30. He kind of explained all of that to me.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not to trick your brain into thinking that but it's sending signals from you through your body to your brain saying it's about time for you to stop eating. So what we would consider what I would have considered a normal portion size, it's not right. It didn't make me feel sick, but you knew when it was time to stop, whether it was eating food, drinking adult beverages, whatever it was. There was a point that just says stop. It helped me realize that, one, put me in the frame of mind, I can't overindulge, and I can't overeat, and I can't overdrink. And I also know that this is something that's my body didn't know or lost over time. So now my brain is saying, you need to stop. Putting that in combination, so this was in 2015, putting that in combination with a much more stringent exercise routine 3 or 4 times a week and making sure that I was eating healthy. We were making better choices as a family because at that time we had an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old. So we want to make sure that, we were modeling for them the way to be healthy. And from that point forward, from 2015 to the present, I had dropped all the way down to around 200 pounds, which was great for me. So I dropped over 50 pounds. And then since then, I've been able to maintain most of that. I have been exercising a little bit more and doing a lot more weight training. So I have been able to put on a little bit more muscle, which is a good thing because then you still feel thinner or in better shape. Right now I'm living right in the range of where I should be based on my body size and body style, body type. So I feel very comfortable. I'm just loving the fact that for the last 5 years, I've been able to maintain and build the success of what my doctors told me about back in 2015.
So did you have any resistance to starting medications? I know you had tried over-the-counter ephedrine in the past, which should not be used by anybody, and I strongly recommend against it. And I think any doctor out there would recommend against it. There are medications that have been developed over time, which can be prescribed by your doctor for helping you to lose weight. Did you feel at any point in time, Marc, that, I don't want to try medications, I just want to try just lifestyle changes and see where I get with it?
Well, and when I tried the lifestyle changes, because I did, I tried it. And it's one of those things where there was something still not right. And I felt like maybe there is something more behind the science of it. And as an educator, I'm always a big proponent of the science. What does the science say? So for me, I didn't have a lot of hesitation with the medication because if my doctor, and I have a very strong trust in my doctor, knowing that he's an expert in his field, just like I would expect somebody who thinks that as an educator, I'm an expert in my field. So I trust people who are experts in their field to give me something that he believes in and that I can do very easily. Now it's an injectable. So I know some people have some concern about, well, it's an injectable, so I've got to inject myself every day. I didn't even notice it. I mean, it was something small, and and after over time, you don't even think twice about it. But it was one of those things where I was just, if this is going to be my path and this is going to be my destiny, then I'm going to trust in my doctor and his expertise and believe in him and believe in this prescription. And if there's a poster boy or poster man for Saxenda, I'll ask Novo Nordisk, the company who makes Saxenda, to put me on it because I will tell my story to anyone and everyone about the successes of it. And I know that some people have that hesitation about medications. If it's something that your doctor believes in and trusts in and knows that there's positive results from it, it can only be more beneficial to you. In fact, the first time I went back to him a year later, after having done it for a full year, my triglycerides were erased. I mean, he was like, oh my goodness, I've never seen numbers like this. The cholesterol was cut in half. He's like, you have no fatty livers. You're not pre-diabetic anymore. He's like, you have done exactly what you're supposed to do. And I felt great about it. And I have not had any indication of any differences since then. So it's been nothing but positive for me. And I highly encourage just to advocate for yourself with your doctor.
Right.
Ask your doctor, listen, there's this something out there that can help me. Please let me know because I want to be informed and be able to make that decision.
Right. And I just want to point out to our listeners that any medication has to be individualized to the patient. Even though Marc got great success from Saxenda, it may or may not be right for you. It's definitely something that listeners should discuss with their doctors if it is right for them or not. It may not be right for them because it certainly has certain contraindications. But if it is right for you and if it's a right fit, then it may be something worth trying because it is one of the medications that is approved for weight loss.
And the thing is, today is day 1,896 for me. And I know because I keep track of it every single day. And I've been doing that more for not so much just validation, but to say, I can make it to 1,900. Then I can make it to 2,000 days. If I'm working out 4 days a week and eating right and taking the medication has allowed for me to not think and worry about if I'm going to see my kids walk down the aisle or if I get to meet my grandchildren or living way beyond the 80 years, 90 years. Like that's my goal. And again, going back to me being afraid of death, I want to look death in the face and say, you're not getting it from me. And this is part of it. This is part of my journey.
So, Marc, did your strategy change from your weight loss to your weight maintenance phase?
So one of the things that I made sure that I did is, even though I went up in the number of milliliters per day, when I got to the highest point, I think it's 3.0 milliliters a day. When I got to that point, the amount that was lost, it goes down a little bit because you have this big weight loss and then you kind of slowly
hit a plateau. Everybody hits a plateau.
Yeah, you hit that plateau. But then when you see that plateau and you say, okay, I'm good here. And the only thing that I've noticed, obviously, because of more weight training, it's the weight looks a little bit heavy, a little bit more, but because you put on more muscle. And so have not been discouraged about it. In fact, it's actually motivated me to not only do things for my physicality, but also to challenge myself. So I've ran 10Ks. My goal is to run a 15K in the next year. In the next 2 years, run a half marathon. Like all of those things, all of the things that when I had grown up in sports, the worst part about sports was running. So for me to go from somebody who could not stand running with sports and try to avoid the running in sports to actually become a runner, my whole mind has just shifted to, I want to maintain this lifestyle and I want to maintain my body and my mind. So it's almost that release too. I've you have a stressful day, I can go to the gym and work it out. And I feel good after I'm done. I work out with my wife and my daughter. We've got my daughter into doing 4 days a week with us. So we do this as a family. My son dances 4 days a week. So he's already in great shape. So he's good. But so the three of us, we work out 4 days a week together. We dinner together. My daughter makes dinner every night. So we have a healthy meal. And it's a great opportunity for us as a family to really continue on this journey. She's going to be going to college in 2 years. I want her to see her mom and I being able to run and be healthy and feel good about knowing that if she goes away to college, she's going to come back and her parents are going to still be here.
Yeah, it tells you something about the importance of family support in weight loss because you're working out as a family, you're having food as a family, and that's so important in your weight loss journey.
I wouldn't be correct if I didn't say that if it wasn't for my wife, none of this would be possible. Like, honestly, she's been my rock, my support through all of this. And I'm not just saying this to get brownie points. I'm saying this because she's been the one who she trusts in the science. She believes in the exercise. She believes in the healthy lifestyle. And she's there right alongside me. When we don't work out together, it's almost like there's a piece missing. When we don't eat dinner with each other, it's a piece missing. It's definitely a duo, if not a group effort, but she's the one who really looked at herself in the mirror and made a change and helped me look in the mirror and make a change. And she's been much more successful with running than I have. She has tons of medals of half marathons that she's done and races she's ran. And she is my motivation and my kids are my motivation. And if there couldn't be anything more valuable to me than to see them grow up and them to be my support as I'm their support.
That's an amazing story. Did you feel at any point in time that you were struggling with your weight loss, or did you have any struggles in your journey when you were losing the weight?
So the challenges were, one, to stay on the prescription once it plateaued. So I was like, I'm really at this point, I'm feeling really good. Should I continue this? And all of the recommendations and science behind it is you want to make sure you maintain your lifestyle in the way that you feel that is best for you. Whether you look at it, I think of it as something that you take because you know that it's there for you. It's support.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like taking a blood pressure pill. Like once your blood pressure is normal, it doesn't mean you don't take your blood pressure pill. You still need to take it. It is normal because you're taking that pill. It's not normal because it's just supposed to be normal. And I think it's the same way with any chronic medication. Even for weight loss, if you don't take it, your weight's going to creep back up. And science tells us this. We've seen this happen. A lot of times when people start losing their weight, they want to go back to a certain weight which they had in their life at some point in time. Did you face that challenge wherein you wanted to go back to a certain weight, you had a certain number in your mind, and did that change?
So originally I had that number, that 185 number. I got to that point the wrong way. That was my weight when I left high school. And I also remember, like, back in those pictures, that I had abs. So that was my goal. I was like, listen, 185 is where I want to be. And then when I hit that point of 200, that's when, like, I was kind of my bottom, yeah, that's the plateau. And I hit that point and I was like, I could do this the wrong way, try to get to 185, or I can be, I still was very satisfied with being at 200. Yeah, I dropped 2 pant sizes and I went from wearing extra large shirts to wearing large shirts. Like, I was okay with that. So I'm like, you know what? I don't need to be wearing a medium. And I don't need to, go down to wearing, a size 32 waist. I'm good. I mean, I was happy. So I'm happy where I was at. So I had that number initially in my head. When I hit 200, I was like, you know what? Yeah, would I love to have a 1 in front of that 199? Yeah, sure. That's great. It's like going to the gas station and you want that number under $2 a gallon. It's like, yeah, I would love that. But, I was realistic. I know where I want to be. I'm very happy with being at the weight I am, and I'm going to keep working at it. So I'm not going to quit.
And that's very important, not to quit, because it's not like you reach a certain point and that's the end of it. You have to maintain that lifestyle. And that's why, we talk about the thing being a lifestyle and not being a diet, because that has to be maintained for you to maintain that weight. How long did it take for you to lose your weight from 255 to your current weight?
So I went from 255 to around 200 in about 18 months. It took to get to that point. The first 10 shreds off quick.
Right. Do you have any last tips for our listeners and what they can do? I mean, your story is phenomenal. It's so inspiring. But do you have any advice or tips for people who are suffering from obesity?
Honestly, first thing is advocate for yourself. Ask your doctor, what are the things that I can do besides just diet and exercise? Because I'm sure that, and I was too, heard that over and over and over again. And just like Charlie Brown's teacher, you don't want to hear want, want, want all the time, because it goes in one ear and out the other. The thing that I want people to understand is that even though you advocate for yourself and your doctor may prescribe you Saxenda or whatever it is that they give you for weight loss, you have to stick with it, and you have to check in regularly with your doctor, have your blood work done, not blow it off and not say, well, I'll do it 6 months from now, or I'll do it a year from now, or there's no time like the present. And if anybody has noticed with what's happened with COVID-19, a lot of patients who are susceptible to coronavirus are obese. And it's one of the biggest factors in those who are hospitalized and those who potentially pass away.
Yeah. Consistency is key. And the fact that you took almost 18 months to get to where your present weight is, I think that says something about this, because it's not going to happen over a month or 2 months. It has to be consistent effort. And it's actually a lifelong effort, because you still have to make that effort to maintain that lost weight. It doesn't go away. The effort still remains. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. That's the way our biology is. What science has shown is that no matter what diet you try, in the long term, it's consistency with that diet that matters. So you have to find something that you can individualize for yourself in terms of your lifestyle. But having said that, that may not be the only thing that you need. You've found great success with Saxenda. And like that, there are a lot of other people who may find benefit from medicines and even surgery if they need it. Well, that was great, Marc. Thank you so much. That's all we have time for today, listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you again, Marc, for sharing your story with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll see you all next time. And listeners, if you liked today's episode, please drop us a review or a comment. Tell us what you loved. And even if you did not like anything, just let us know, because we're always trying to improve. Do subscribe for more fun and inspiring episodes like this one in the future.
You've been listening to the Decoding Obesity podcast. Please remember, the information in this podcast should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever. The thoughts and opinions expressed on this podcast are solely of the host and his guests and do not constitute medical advice. Views and opinions on this show do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of any organization. And that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for listening in. Don't forget to visit our website, www.decodingobesity.com, for show notes and more info. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please feel free to rate, review, and subscribe on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate that effort. Until next time.